Friday, 11 a.m. East Coast time. Jerry, good to see you, brother. How are you?
And good to see you too, Jack. I'm doing great. It's been a crazy busy Monday, but in our commercial janitorial world, Mondays are always crazy. So it's the same for you and me. So yeah, it's a good crazy though.
Good,
So
crazy. Big news today, man. I wanted to kick into this before we take into the dive, but big news with the industry. Again, I guess I'm kind of a little further removed, but let me share the screen here. This is crazy news, crazy, wild news. Imperial Dade Brady Plus have decided to basically join forces together, and they're going to work through all of that over here the next few weeks, months, whatever it may be. But there is some heavy names behind this. I don't know what the actual term would be. A merger, I guess it would be.
huh. Yeah. I saw that and I was like, oh wow, that's a big one. That's a big one.
Well,
So
for those who aren't familiar, that's where I came from, is the really the manufacturing distribution side of the house. But Imperial Dade, great company, been around as you see here. I think it's from the 30s. They were there. The Tillises came in, bought them a few years ago, and they started basically acquiring Brady, which was out of Vegas. They started doing the same thing on their side, and basically been competitors, or and they still are competitors, I guess,
yeah.
back in the day. But now this is some crazy big money going on, exchanging hands back and forth, and what they're going to do with pulling this thing together. I'm interested to see the name. That's going to be the interesting thing. How do you put this front? And quite honestly, I'm speaking above my pay grade, but there's also that's two big companies with a lot of personalities involved. So seeing those two come together, it's going to be an interesting dynamic of those two companies really merging, and what's going to happen at the end of the day. So crazy, unexpected kind of thing right here. I didn't see that coming with at all. So
Oh, yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah. Yeah, that's you live on that side of the tracks more than I do, but man, that's a big one. So, definitely
well,
a big one for
that's
sure.
I think I joked once or a few times. I think I've joked that we would probably make a lot more money in this business if we had a live reality show with all the dynamics. Like, this is a plot into itself for a whole season.
Oh yeah,
Some of
definitely.
these walkthroughs you've been on, I've been on. I think that's a plot for at least a couple episodes. So anyway,
Yeah, my kids are always like, "Dad, you should be on a reality TV show." I'm like, "Well, if you guys aren't in it, it's no good because you guys are really the ones that it's them picking on me is what makes it fun for everybody, I guess." So,
well, it's a bunch of dynamics. So that's gonna be interesting to watch
yeah.
that pan out
Yeah.
over the next few weeks, few months, whatever it may be. So
Yeah, it's a big thing in the Jansen industry for sure. So,
so
good.
all of that said, what's the topic you want to dive into? We had, oh, by the way, we had a good session with John Gallagher with
Yeah, on Friday.
Dimension Funding, so that was informative. I was above my skis on that one, but he broke it down very simple, and really, people should be looking at debt as a tool, not necessarily a bad thing all the time. I think if you can take it and you can make some moves and it moves your company forward, I think every company, hell, even the two companies we're talking right now, there's a lot of debt associated with those companies that they're using in productively, I guess, in a
Yeah.
productive way, I guess is the way to say it. But
Yeah.
John opened my eyes to a few things with the capital. You basically taking a loan to get some working capital out of your company to kind of move things forward, as well as the equipment side and the software side. So
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would love to just jump into real quick is, you know, Jack, you and I, we work with a lot of companies and we're, mentoring, coaching, doing some and training um, leaders of organizations, mainly owners, but also management teams with how to grow their business, especially their janitorial business. And, we've kind of run into this a little bit in the past couple of weeks where people are trying to figure out how do we get our organization to grow and move forward. And we're discovering that a lot of owners are keeping things in their head and they're not putting it on paper to make it a repeatable process.
Yep.
And that repeatable process then can help grow in the company. So we've had a couple of conversations about it, and so I went in and just put in a real quick six step process to help get things out of your head. And here's kind of the tagline for me with it is It only lives, if it only lives in your head, right? It dies on your day off.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Good
if it
point.
only lives in your head, it'll die with your day off. So one of the biggest growth killers of a janitorial company is when everything relies on you, and remembering how everything is done. The It makes it hard to scale, but the key to scaling is turning what you know into something that everybody else in the team can follow, and that's in the room, and people can understand and see it on paper, see it in process. And so um, I just jotted down like what I think are 4 or 5 things. And I did this in my company early on. I knew everything on the business side, and my partner knew everything on the operations side. And for a couple of years, we were just running the company. You're like, man, we got to get this stuff on paper. And so here's some quick, just if you don't mind, I'll jump right into a couple of quick
Jump
tips
into
I
it.
think that can help us. So, but how to get it out of your head and into a repeatable system. Step one would be as simple as this: start with what's critical in your company, 5 or 6 things, maybe those processes that make your business run every day. And I'm talking about opening a new building, inspections, submitting supply orders, quality inspections, or employee onboarding. Maybe those are some areas that you want to go ahead and get into process. So those might be 5 or 6 critical things. Just get a list, start and prioritize them, and then um, record it as you do it. So if you're going through the process, when technology is such a great tool, take technology, take your phone, record the process, speak the process into the phone, capture the process in real time. Don't overcomplicate it. And then, I always say this: raw is better. At least we have something, you
Hmm.
know, put it on, and then get that translated and put it on paper. So that would be your second step. The third step would be um, break it into steps so that it's clear for everybody to understand. We talked a little bit about that today with a customer, just making sure that you have a clear checklist, um, and each step gets numbered, it gets processed, and it creates an easily following roadmap. I don't know how to say followable, but a
Yeah.
following roadmap, um, and that everybody in the team who might be in the room can follow that. And then the fourth one, which is very important for you to get more time to work on your company as a business owner, is to assign ownership of that process to somebody. Give the process to the person who's going to do it. Teach them, review it, teach them, show them how to do it, test it with them, make sure it's working, refine it as you need to. Um, and then if I used to tell my team this, that a process only works in the theory. It's just a wish if it's not put in process. There's a lot of people. I hear people all the time in my coaching. I just wish this would work. I'm like, it can work. You got to put it in a process. Otherwise, it's just a wish in your mind,
Yeah.
And so, and then the number five would be put everything in a centrally located place. Store all your policies and procedure. Jack and I often refer to it as the handbook, the guidebook to our business. You know, we talk about Chick-fil-A all the time. Well, you just don't show up on an empty lot and go, all right, I'm going to build a Chick-fil-A and hopefully, things will work out right. No, from the dirt up, there's a tool, a guidebook on how their processes work, from building it to the day-to-day operations of it. So make sure that you have that all stored in one central place, whether it's a drive or, like early on in my company, it was an actually 3-inch binder that we kept everything in. We just tabbed everything, then we moved it into computer form. And then the last thing I always tell people is, or I would encourage people, is review and improve, right? Review it, improve it. Every 6 months, revisit your processes. Make sure they're Make sure your processes don't outrun your growth. Make your processes in a position and them in a way that you can grow into those processes. And so the janitorial award changes so fast. You got to make sure you keep your systems up with ever changing things in this industry. So, but the bottom line is, Jack, you'll grow when your processes are outside of your brain, when
Yeah.
they're written down and a repeatable system that gives your team the confidence to know what they are doing versus, um, and that will help keep consistent quality. And it gives you a step by step process for your company to run. And you don't have to be involved in every decision. If everything revolves around you, the business will only grow to the extent that you can handle it.
Yeah.
So
No.
that's just a quick, we had a conversation earlier today. We've been talking to customers, and I'm like, and this is just a quick 6-step thing. If you want to reach out to us, I've got some of that down in writing, and I'll finish it up and we can get it out to you. I'm sure we can throw a link in there to how you can get a hold of us. But that's kind of what I think will help companies grow further faster. That's
No.
that's a big thing. So
No, I agree. And I think that that testing and that refining, because if it's in your head, you're handling it. I think you're most likely not living it every single day either. So once you get it out of your
yeah,
head, you get it documented, you get it to someone that's responsible for it. At that point, they're going to test it every day. That's their job, is to test that, refine that. And I think that's where the beauty kind of takes off, is that what you thought was a well defined process in your head is not so defined when you put it on paper. So you refine
yeah,
it there. But when you actually delegate it out and they start to say, hey, Jerry, here's a better way to do this. There's a better
yeah,
way to do that. I didn't think of that. And maybe there's somebody else looking at it because they're part of that process too. So this refinement will speed up, and I think over time, which you'll get to a good state that you don't have to adjust it. But I would recommend, because like you said, change is constant, technology is evolving, processes, you're learning things, but set flags for those SOPs as well, so that maybe this one here we're going to review every year. This one
yeah,
here, it's a little more fluid right now, but maybe every 30 to 60 days we're going to circle back up for 15 minutes and just
yeah.
see if it's a good process.
Yeah, employee onboarding. That's a great example of, probably need to watch that every 30 to 60 days with the ever changing climate of employee retention, trying to get employees on board, and new technologies. That's a great example of one. So, the other thing, you remember, Jack, we're growing up, we play football, right? We get our knee down in the dirt and we draw a play with the boys in the dirt. Say, you go here, you go here. And before we broke to go run the play, we'd mess the dirt up so that it was gone. That's you know the Kansas City Chiefs. They've had theirs kind of success because they're I heard Andy, the head football coach, say, we have repeatable processes during the week that allow us to be very successful on the weekend,
Yeah.
right? And so they know their plays. Most NFL teams, they know their first 2 to 3 series of plays before they get to Sunday.
Yeah.
They've worked on it all week. It's there. It's a card. Everybody knows what's happening. They know how it's going. The pregame. I don't know if you've ever been to a pro game, but I've been out to see the Cowboys play a couple times. I'm fascinated by how organized and structured the pregame process to getting ready for the game is. And all that is a process. That's a procedure that they took out of somebody's head. The head coach is the way I want it to happen, and it's on paper. And so the same is true about our companies. We're professionals. Let's act like professionals. Let's be professional, and let's put stuff down on paper. And listen, if you want it, if you're OCD about how you want your company run, put it in paper, put it in a process, and train people, teach people. That's how you should do it. So just some thoughts.
No, those good thoughts. And I think the other angle on that too, Jerry, is to add to that. I think you've got the owners and managers who keep it in their head. They don't document it. They don't share it to improve it. But the opposite side, you've got the other owners and managers who say, oh, Peggy oversees that, Jim oversees that. And they trust the process is working fine. Again, it's in their head. So all of a
Yeah,
sudden they get hit by a bus, God forbidding, or they leave you, you lose all that. Again, I use the word
ton of
tribal
information.
knowledge. They use that, you lose that tribal knowledge. So it's not only
Yeah,
the owners and the executives within the company that should get that brain dump into paper, into a SOP, but
yeah,
also what are those mechanisms that someone else is doing that if you lost them tomorrow, you would be upside down. Get that on paper, and then reverse. You look at that process and say, does this make sense? Is going to scale the company? And again, you don't have to understand it to the point that you're going to do it every single day, but does it make sense? Does it flow? So
yeah. And and this is not specific to the janitorial world. This is any small
yeah,
business. And here's what I would challenge a business owner with that might be listening to this today is how many times have you laid down at night and you've thought to yourself before you went to sleep, oh, I forgot to do that. And you roll over to your phone or your pad and you write down a list of things that you didn't get done today, and you need to get done tomorrow or the next day. And I could almost challenge anyone listening right now. It's probably because your time was occupied by telling someone what to do in their job,
Yep.
right? But if you had that in a process and a repeatable, easy to understand and clear process, and they got it and committed it to memory, and they could go do their job without much input from you, that's when things start clicking. That's when the wheels start rolling, you know. And the most you say to them in the morning is, "Hey," and they go, "Hey, boss, how are you?" And they're rolling. They know what to do, right?
Yep.
They don't have to come in and eat a donut, drink a coffee, and wait for the whiteboard instructions for the day. They can make it happen. So
And you're gonna hear people are thinking right now, wow, that's again for a good company, that's a lot of processes. But I think start with three. Think about
yeah,
the three most important things that need to happen with your company every single day in order to grow. Maybe make that the priority. So you got to be able to bill right. That's definitely a priority. The
number
one we
one.
talked about today, and we're talking with another company later this week that's using us for coaching is the onboarding process. That is one area that a lot of companies drop the ball on. They kind of it's in their head. They kind of say this is how we do it, and
Onboarding a new customer. Yeah,
yeah,
just
onboarding a new customer. But that's the dynamic is if you onboard $1,000 a month account, you should have pretty much the same process as $100,000 a month account. Yeah, there's going to be different dynamics involved, different kind of levels of what you need to do, but really look at that and say, if I to your point with Chick-fil-A, if I stepped out for 30 days and we had 3 new onboardings, or we had to get a whole month's worth of invoicing out, would those 2 processes work on their own without me,
yeah.
or without those key people that maybe manage that now?
I can still remember when my operations guy, he liked the closets a certain way, and so I learned from him what they should look like. And to this day, I know what aisle and what bin at Home Depot was the plastic shelf we got, and I knew how many microfiber rags, where the chemical station from Spartan or whoever it was goes to at, um, how many mop buckets depending on the size of the building, how many carts, how many barrels, where all that stuff goes. It was in his mind, and eventually over time we got it on the paper, and then the warehouse guys took over, and they were able to do it. And he was on doing things that helped move the company down the road faster and creating more revenue because he was brilliant at creating revenue on the spot with customers. So that's where we wanted him to be, not stocking a closet on a new onboard. So
Cool. Cool. Well, that covers that. I think that's a good topic to wrap up on. Again, Jerry and I are available for conference calls. I'll drop in the show notes how to get in contact with us if you're interested in exploring some coaching. We are up for that. If you just have a quick question, we're up for that as well. But I think the whole thing we're looking to do here is really share some good nuggets of information and really hopefully pull some people in that really want to take their company to the next level. So we are
yeah,
doing one-on-ones as well as group sessions. So maybe your budget or you're not sure if you can afford it. We make this thing pretty damn affordable, and our commitment is that you will see an ROI come out of it. So
yeah,
that said, we'll be
yeah.
back on Friday, the 11th coming up, or not, today's 11th. I'm sorry, the 15th will be coming up. I think we have a special guest that day, I believe, right? Gotta look at that.
Well, the fact that you and I are here every
Special
one
enough.
makes it kind of special. But yeah, if we got to bring somebody in to make it look better, then I get that. But
And if you are somebody that looks better to that point, and you do want to jump on a call with us, we try to bring a live guest on to talk
yeah,
about a certain topic. Again, it's not hard to get looking better compared to us two. But if you have a topic you want to discuss, you want to get on, drop us an email as well as Jack at GetRoute or Jerry at GetRoute.com, and we would love to have you on. So
yeah, we've got some good people we're lining up. So it's pretty exciting what we got going on. It's very organic. We're just you just jumping on and making it happen. And I think people are going to benefit tremendously from what we're bringing in the Chasing Dirt show. So it's great. Thanks for joining us again today.
all right, well, we wrap it up. So good seeing you, Jerry. Talk to you
Yeah.
later.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care.
All right, that was good.